Thought I'd do this a little bit of ironic because, dark subject matter. That's the right thing. So in the dark. I mean, for humanity, death is not something to be trifled with. But the fact of existence, that's something different entirely. Can we exist after death? Well, you'd probably get into saying, well, there's transcendence and a lot of other different things. But you never really know. In a way, many things come to an end on this planet specifically. But when it comes to certain beings, well, they have their ways of existing, a life that's otherwise would be impossible for them because of humanity and well, the fact that certain humans are actually immortal by now. Now, I'm sorry, excuse me. Another reason why is kind of trying to fit this in between. I'm sorry for the whole crunch, crunch, crunch thing. If you hear that, I'll try to get that. Get that out of the video. But, anyways, thing is with the whole thing, like your spiritual leaders, aside from, I guess you could say, some Buddhist, is that the fact that humans are immortal and they are not willing to admit it, or at least spiritual leaders in your government say, "Oh no, that's not correct. You're supposed to die and you no longer exist. You just vanish." But ask yourself, vanish to where? Where does that little piece of you, that little bit of electricity that fades, what does that do exactly? Huh? You can measure electric discharge, yes, but biological discharge? What sort of magnetic flux would it leave behind? Or where would it go? If that magnetic flux had some sort of intelligence to it. These are some things that you really can think on, but yet you still have yet to test it. Because, oh, well, the human condition is not something to be worried about anymore because we found all about it. No, you haven't found anything out yet. You know nothing of what is outside of this reality. Of course, your spiritual leaders, well, they'll say, well, the soul is, well, what is a soul? You'd say, okay, well, it's a way of actually being able to be immortal, like I've said before. But, and it's alright. You have several things that happen that they probably will never tell you. You die, you're sorted into your appropriate karmatic, or I guess you could say karma related. Hmm. Karma related. What would be the word? Group. To just to keep it a little bit shorter than what I would normally banter on about. The thing is, after that, you either get to choose to exist or cease to exist. If you cease to exist, you basically you go straight back to where you came from. Your origin of soul, I guess you could say. Some would call it source, other people call it the creator. This is basically the origin of a soul. It goes without saying that no matter what being exists, it has some form of soul energy to it. Of course, that is a little bit different for lessers or animalistic beings. Depending on their intelligence, it will vary on what kind of soul they have. Soul energy, excuse me. Thing is, though, once you've had that sort of choice and you either go back to the creator or you choose to continue to exist, you can either working off your karma or you're isolated from everyone else. I might say the negative karma. But you can also work off negative karma by going back, by henceforth saying reincarnation. But in a way, since you're immortal, all you're really doing is incarnating again to a different body. It's the same you, just a little bit different, changed, with the same karma attached. I can tell you this. When it comes to this planet, despite your memories being intact while up there, when you come back down here and incarnate again, the magnetic field of this planet wipes your memory completely. Or I could say interferes. The reason for that specifically is because, well, humans thrive on a certain magnetic wavelength. Or you could say ohms or whatever kind of sciencey term you could put it out there. Still, it's not easy. I've put through just enough of my own little understandings here and there, but I've never really touched on it completely. Not in a manner that would be appropriate. So, I figured, why not just stop beating around the bush and get to the point. The point is, humanity is still quite a experiment. Sure, we do have our ways of understanding and going about things that other beings wouldn't be able to do. That is what makes us unique, and I guess you'd say observable. Because we are not only do we have a lot to learn from other beings, they have a lot to learn from us. Certain aspects like free will and other things that are taken for granted most times. I mean, you could say that Greys have very little in the way of free will, and that's why they take so much interest in humanity. As far as survivability, we excel above all else, other than the reptilians who live in environments far more excessive than what they can possibly survive in. Still, I've kind of gotten to the point where if they want to observe humanity, they have to take a hands-off approach. They haven't done a single thing about that. Each time they've claned up, come together, and tried to take over humanity just to see what we would do, to try to observe our free will when we rise up and take back what we know has been ours for centuries. But was it really ours to begin with? That's an interesting thought, isn't it? If they exist, that again brings back a bit of circular logic to the matter of soul energy now, doesn't it? What else was created? You don't need to see that sort of thing to be able to really expose and show things that are otherwise undeniable. I mean, yeah, a few thousand people probably have seen the reptilians or the greys, or they've seen both at once in their sort of clan union. But let me put it this way. Why would they join up with humanity when they would do so much to stay apart from humanity? Well, they also have their agenda, their own politics, as far as their own scientific or religious beliefs in the Creator, soul energy, and matter of fact, of logic and common sense. Of course, common sense always begs the question: what kind of intelligence are they? What do they do? What they do is not of purpose, understandably, but because they need to be able to justify their own existence, much like us. It's not a simple way of thinking, now, is it? The idea of social interaction, well, or should I say, the principles of social interaction, sociology, that sort of thing, psychology, lots of different little details. You could say for sure there's absolutely got to be some sort of philosophies that these beings live by. If not for us, I mean, humans live by some kind of philosophy, don't we? Like, united we stand, divided we fall has been a very undertoned motto of the United States, but it still has some sort of philosophy behind it, in that if you do not stand together, you definitely will be weaker than just the whole one stick versus many sticks sort of mentality. It still has its roots. I guess you could say, in a way, for some of these other beings, they also have their roots. But they can't fully understand ours, so what do? They try to pick it apart, try to find some sort of details to it. And that is their flaw. By trying to find some sort of weakness in ours, they are being weak themselves. You could also say that's not about our kind, poking into other creatures' business, trying to find out more about them, even down to the molecular level. I'm not saying that it's a negative thing, but eventually it does come to a point of what sort of philosophy are we following if we continue down that path. I've seen plenty throughout my exploration. The one beings that don't really mind are the avatar races. I guess you could say versions of our creatures made to be intelligent, and a few others that just are more mythical in design. Of course, I have a completely different set of videos on that. I might need to update them sooner or later, but for now, they suffice. But the most odd out of the entire set of beings in general are the Reapers. They are not beings, but they still have souls. Or should I say, they are souls. They don't exist, but they do. So you may ask, why? Why do you not have some sort of physical form? We weren't given physical form until, well, let's just say the fact that the more you created, the less there was to actually create with. So there had to be some sort of in between, some sort of balance. Someone to balance everything in general. But it eventually came to the point where our work, our way of life, became a hindrance to some beings. They rebelled. They took others' lives. They wanted to say, forget the balance. Take with you what is not yours to begin with. It is ours to claim. To that, our response was swift. You cheat us, we will take what is ours for sure. It is not yours, and it was never yours to begin with. We were given this responsibility, and we will uphold it. With that, I think it's enough said.